Welcome, watchers, to Tuesday Talks. Yet another one here. We're joining. This is the second time we're getting together. Hopefully, many of you can join us and help us out with our topics going forward. So if you catch us later, know that we do this live every other Tuesday when we're not playing our other game that's set up, our Vobian Knights game, the other Tuesdays. Today, we're going to be talking about Dragonlance and mainly just the things that affect character builds and such. We're not going to delve too much into the campaign as we have not, gotten to actually sink our teeth into all of that just yet. But it's been out for about a week or so, and people have had their hands on it. So we thought we would take a look at some of those character options, because that can affect any game, whether it's Dragonlance or not. And maybe we'll talk a little bit about how you might integrate some of the built-in things here into, a homebrew world that isn't necessarily Dragonlance.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff that pretty much was from good old first/second edition, they've moved over, like always, to fifth edition. There is some stuff that's missing. We were kind of going over the book last night, and I was kind of telling Bill, it's like, oh, the gnomes did this whole thing with this, that, and the other, and this other thing did this, and they kind of left that out. But, really, if you want to, actually bring that into your own system, all the old books are still out there. You just have to, tweak it a little and maneuver it a little to fit it in 5th edition. And, yeah, and then you could have the insanity that was what was back in the day. So, but speaking of insanity, as Bill has right now, the Kinder.
Yeah. So new racial option, although I guess they're going to eventually go away from the term race, but origin option, whatever, what you were born as. So the Kender, as Dave has explained in the past, have had some mixed feelings by a lot of players, because I think the inquisitiveness, that kind of gathering of knickknacks, often caused some players to take that to mean that they could go into their companions' items and steal things and kind of be a little bit of a jerk.
And the common phrase back in the day was, "Oh no, I'm not stealing, I am borrowing," because that's what Tasselhoff Burfoot said in the books. So.
Yeah, but also know that that is like a character choice for that character in the books, and doesn't necessarily mean that all of them have to be that same way. The inquisitiveness is, overall the general thing, great, but obviously play your character how you want. There's not every human's the same, not every whatever's the same. So why would every Kinder have to be the same?
As well as the fact that as a DM and as a players, communication is key. If somebody wants to play a Kinder and play it like that whole weird, I am borrowing from the group, this, that, and the other, have a talk with the player, because if you allow someone to play a Kinder and you have not talked with your players, and that Kinder goes and steals something from another group, you could have a situation on your hands that's not pleasant. So,
yep.
Yeah. So
at any point, if you're planning on doing anything kind of PvP on a regular basis, make sure that your play group is okay with that style of play. Make sure your DM's okay with that style of play. Don't just drop it in the middle of a session and your DM now has to scramble. So, I mean, that's whether you're a Kender, whether you're a whatever, if that's the character style you want to play, it doesn't work with every group.
Yeah,
sometimes it works great.
Sometimes, yeah.
But you got to make sure. So why would you want to play a Kender? It's a small creature, 30-foot walking speed. That, I think, is going to be the way we go forward in a lot of the racial options. And once 1D&D and further books come out, is I think 30 feet's just going to be the standard.
Yeah.
But they get some really cool, stop that, D&D Beyond. Some really cool features here that would make them fun to play. So Fearless, you get advantage on saving throws to avoid or in the frightened condition on yourself. That's pretty cool. Frightened can be very debilitating, especially if you're a melee character.
Which I'm really happy they kept from the old editions. Is that was the key selling point about playing a Kinder, as far as, they could walk up to a Cthulhu-like dragon and go, "Hi, how you doing? What's your name?" So while the other party is going, "Oh my God!"
And even better is, not only do you get the advantage, when you fail one, you choose to succeed. Like, so you get a legendary resistance once per day for frightened conditions. That's pretty huge.
Yeah.
That one time when you're like, "Oh my God, if I get frightened right now, I'm screwed."
Mm-hmm.
You can say, no, I succeed. Plus, I think a lot of frightened conditions have the little term at the bottom that once this has been passed, you can't make that same check from that same creature for 24 hours. Yeah. So you're going up against the big bag dragon. Oh, I failed. Darn, I'm going to choose to succeed. And now that can't frighten you till tomorrow when you get this ability back again. So you're just set. You're not getting scared. And that's pretty cool. You get proficiency in one skill of your choice: insight, investigation, sleight of hand, stealth, or survival. All good ones. Yeah. Can't go wrong with any of these, depending on your build. I find myself taking like the criminal background or the urchin background so many times for stealth and thieves tools and stuff. But stealth in particular is what I'm always looking for in many of my builds.
And it's funny because yesterday in one of our games, I was rolling the crap out of survival for tracking and stuff like that. So if you're going to build like a really good rangery type scout, Kinder may be the way to go.
Yeah. Another cool option that this is like, I want to build around this race for this last ability, the taunt ability. So as a bonus action, you can, unleash, as they say, a string of provoking words. Or what's the D&D short guy says, you can call someone a bitch, and then they have to make a wisdom saving throw. So this is a 60-foot range, so it could be pretty far away. And if they fail on the wisdom saving throw, it will have disadvantage on attack rolls against targets other than yourself until the start of your next turn. And you can do this proficiency bonus times per day, which is really cool. It's a few extra times a day you can say, this guy has to attack me. And if you build around that, like you heavy armor, you do whatever, like
barbarian would be amazing.
Yeah. So many things I could think could be really cool with this, and just a great way to take someone and make them not very effective or make them focus on you. And there's not many abilities in D&D that do this. There's a few, but to get this as a character class, or as a race, then you could add in some of the other ones from character classes. Like I know the Artificer with their Thunder Gauntlets and the Armorer build has like another taunt. So you could have two characters now. Mm-hmm. Plus, you're targeting a creature that's up to 60 feet away from you, so they couldn't possibly not even be in melee of you. Mm-hmm. So now they gotta either use ranged, so depending on the type of character, it may not want to do ranged, or it's got to try to move towards you and make disadvantage attacks against something. It's a good ability.
What would be the ultimate concept is you see an enemy 60 feet away and you strategically place yourself where all your party members are in front of you, and that creature has to run past every single one of them to get to you.
Yeah, I mean, and at 60 feet away, it's just going to move up and attack another ally, but it's going to do that at disadvantage, assuming they fail their save. Very fun. Plus, if you get a taunt from like a class feature, like the Artificer, you could be taunting two different things. Just be like, come at me, bro. And the rest of your party, who's probably not designed around being targeted, are going to have that freedom to kind of go around and have fun and just kind of like sit out there. It's pretty cool. I like it a lot. So look for a Kinder build for me in the future that has like Artificer armor and this, so that I can just be taunting everything in the world and make people come at you. Or I think there's a paladin subclass too that has so that's the only race that they change or add on to. There's some fluff and stuff in there for the races there. Really quickly, there are organizations built into Dragonlance, so I'm not going to delve into them much here other than how they affect like the feats and stuff. Just know that if you are allowing people to use these feats from Dragonlance in these other things, know that you're going to have to create some similar organization that fits the fluff of your world. Not a big deal. It's kind of a cool world building thing anyways. Like there's knightly orders in almost every fantasy setting. There's like magical groups of people in almost any setting. So whether you do this like a Hogwarts style school thing, or you do like different competing magical work, like nations, or even just small sects of magic users that like follow certain tenets. However you want to do them, just know that they do have these organizations, the Knights of Solamnia, and their various like knightly orders that go along with that, and the mages of high society and the various ones that go with those. But that's only touched on here because I want to look at the feats. This also delves into the D&D 1D thing that they're working, because in 1D&D we see that the backgrounds are associating in free feats. Here's another instance, like in the Strixhaven, where you got the Strixhaven initiate feats. Here's a similar idea. You take this background, you're going to get a free feat. Mm-hmm. So they start off here, this first level bonus feats that they talk about. If you're playing in one of these campaigns, or if you're a DM and you're like, yeah, I'm cool with everyone having either of these backgrounds, you kind of need to give the rest of your players a bonus feat to make that balance. And they're suggesting either skilled or tough, nothing game breaking, and just kind of fun little bonus things that people get so they don't feel like they're behind.
And both of those feats are really great. Oftentimes I've taken skilled as one of those feats, and it's a great feat if you want to have lots and lots of skills at your disposal. So
yeah, for sure. And if you're playing something like the Kender and trying to taunt everything, having more hit points is not a bad idea either. So both have their uses, but they have all these other feats down here that a lot of them are built on, because they're basically saying if you're playing Dragonlance, you get the free feat first level and fourth level, in addition to your ASI and or feat, if your table uses that, they're giving you another free feat. And these are kind of like the step 2 to these first 2 feats, the Knight of Solamnia and Mage of High Sorcery, that you would get one of those on first level if you took one of those, or one of the skilled tough. But then these build on, like the Adepts and the Knights build off of those 2 first feats. So let's look at those feats. The first of these level 1 feats that we're looking at is the Knight of Solamnia. Basically, you've been trained to be a knight. You have special rules and guidelines and a strict sense of honor that goes along with that. So you get athletics and survival as just you get that. You get 2 languages. Is this the background though? Yeah.
Yeah, it's the background itself.
Yeah, this is the background. That's right. So this background comes with the Squire of Solamnia. That's what I was thinking of. Is the feat for first level. Yeah, so you get the Squire of Solamnia feat, which is the build off for the rest of the feats that go along with these. So pretty much that's the benefit of taking that background, really. Then the Mage of High Sorcery. Again, this is on the other side of things, where you are a magical user, and you have to be this would be the first level one you could take with as your background, and that's going to build off things. This also, the other side, the Mage and the Squire both open up the option to take the feats if you the further feats. So like as we were talking about earlier, these fourth level, the Adepts and the Knights, you either have to be the right classes to take some of these, like you have to be like a sorcerer or a wizard or whatever, take one of these, But if you've taken the background and you got that free first feat ones that you go, the Mage of High Sorcery, now you can qualify for these, even if you took a different class.
Yeah.
Go into that probably when we get to those a little bit more. But so the Mage of High Sorcery, you get Arcana, History, good ones for a mage of some sort, 2 languages, and again, the Initiate of High Sorcery feat, which is time to look at all these. So the Initiative High Sorcery. So like I said here, the prerequisite says Dragonlance campaign, of course, talk to your DM. I'd be cool with people using them in my world, but then I just, like, you have to plan it out so that everybody else gets that free first level feat to go along with some of these. Or if you're just going to pick this up as a feat somewhere along the line, that's cool too. Sorcerer or Wizard. So you'd have to be one of those two to take this feat, unless you took the Mage of High Sorcery background. So that would be another benefit of, there's certain character builds that you might want to do that, I mean, you automatically get this feat if you take that background, but then it's going to unlock it for the future upgraded feats. So you choose one of the 3 moons as your influence to your magic. And then you learn 1 cantrip of your choice from the wizard spell list and 2 first level spells based on the moon you chose. So if you look down here, they tell us our moons. I'm going to not say these right, Dave. Do you know how to say them right?
It's been a while. But yeah, Nunatari, Lunatari, and Solinari is, if I remember them right. But it's been like a really long time since I've read the lore and the back stuff of Dragonlance itself, which there is a lot of it. But all those stories and whatnot, if you love that kind of stuff, it's absolutely fascinating. I won't get into spoilers on the main characters or anything like that, but it is definitely a worth read if you like really, really almost Lord of the Rings-esque storyline or storytelling without, long pages of, describing where the stump in the woods are at. So... But so pretty much to break it down as far as alignment was a big thing with Dragonlance. Essentially, Dragonlance was all about good versus evil, law versus chaos, and which is really interesting of when they released it, because this whole phase of trying to slowly move away from alignment, slowly move away from this, though. But that was an integral part of Dragonlance. And so the white wizards was the good guys, basically the black wizards was the bad guys, and the red wizards was the dudes in the middle, essentially. So
all right.
And so you could transition between them. The main character in the Dragonlance novels and whatnot, Raceland, he transitioned from red wizard to black wizard.
Yeah, so up here it tells us too that the black moon is Nuitari. So you would get a wizard cantrip of your choice and two of these: Dissonant Whispers, False Life, Hex, or Ray of Sickness. So that's kind of cool. It opens up these other spells. Plus, it tells us down here is you can cast each of your chosen first level spells without a spell slot, basically once per day. And then you can use your regular spell slots to cast them again. So if you're taking, say, Wizard and you don't get Hex, you can then gain Hex from being a Dark Wizard, a new Atari follower. That's pretty cool to open up new spell slots. And depending what you are, like Sorcerer has a limited selection of spells, but if you're going these and you're getting the bonus spells, well, now you're kind of catching up a little bit, have more versatility and more options. Lunatari, we got Color Spray, Disguise Self, Featherfall, and Longstrider. And Solinari, Comprehend Language, Detect Evil and Good, Protection from Evil and Good, and Shield. All have something in there that I would be like, yeah, I could totally love any of these. And Lunatari is probably my least favorite out of the 3, just because of these spells that they give. Now, if you were going to go Disguise, that's going to be a spell you're going to want anyways, that's not a bad option. I love getting the Shield spell in classes, especially if you're going a route where you're like, you took the Mage of High Sorcery background, but then you built as a cleric or something like that, or even a warlock where you don't get that shield spell normally. That's a cool way to like work that into a class that doesn't normally, and then enhance that for the build.
So speaking of adding it into your own world setting and stuff like that, separating it actually from Dragonlance, a really cool idea I just had would be combining basically this right here with Strixhaven and Candlekeep, which would be just kind of I mean, you would have the mage college of doom essentially. So
yeah, definitely. And I think I could see myself going even further with some of these. Obviously, you would rename it. I would unhook them from the moon. That would be like colleges or maybe sects or whatever philosophies of study. And then add in a few extras above and beyond this to add in different styles of all that.
Yeah.
All right. That was a lot to get through that one. Let's go to the Squire before we get into the Adepts, just because, I don't know, they're the first level feats, and let's look at those first. Okay. The Squire of Solamnia is the one you get for free if you take the Knight of Solamnia background. You have to be a fighter or paladin, again, unless you took this as a background. So if you're building a rogue character that you see as like a Squire of Solamnia or whatever, you start him off as the Knight of Solamnia background. You get this for free anyways, but then that's going to unlock the different knightly orders to you in the future. So you get mat up, mounting, dismounting, takes 5 feet of movement. It's probably not going to come into play too often because your mount has different movement speeds. So once you get on your mount, it doesn't matter if it took you half your movement or if it took you 5 feet, with the exception of you got to run up to your mount and jump on your mount. That could be situationally good. Precise strike, once per turn. You make a weapon attack against a creature. You can cause the attack to roll to have advantage. If it hits, you roll a d8 and add the number rolled as a bonus to the attack's damage roll. And you can use this benefit a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus. And it only is expended if you hit, which is crazy. Like, these are very powerful features that limited resource of proficiency bonus times per day isn't expended if you still suck at your second roll, which I was having happen to me all the time yesterday. 2 rolls. Oh, look, they both sucked. Yeah. In that case, you don't waste it.
Yeah.
Like, this feature on certain things, like rogues who want to get that advantage, if you can't find it another way, here's yet another way for you to have just been like, yeah, I'm going to have advantage on this attack. So you get your sneak attack. And then you had rolled that d8, add the number rolled as a bonus to the attack's damage roll. So you got advantage, you're doing extra damage, and then if you're like a rogue, you're doing extra damage. So it could be really good for those kind of more burst damage builds where it's like, I'm only going to get one chance. I want to make sure it works. Yeah, that's that feat. So that will then open up the Knight of the Crown is available after 4th level. So you can't necessarily take a free feat and then like a custom lineage where you get another free feat 1st level and take both of these. You got to wait till 4th level. Got to earn your stripes in the Knights of Solamnia before you get here. It increases ability score, strength, dexterity, or con. It's pretty cool. So plan ahead of time on leaving an odd number feat, like ability score. And then as a bonus action, you can command one ally within 30 feet of yourself to attack. As long as they can see or hear you, they make one weapon attack as a reaction. Again, really good to use on a rogue. If somehow they're getting sneak attack as well, you can get the sneak attack on an opponent's turn as well, or on your turn. Give it to the rogue and they will get it because it's a new turn. If the attack hits, the ally can roll a d8 and add the number rolled as bonus attack to the damage roll. Again, great for rogues. You use this bonus action a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus per day. Pretty cool little I'm a commander. I'm going to order people around and let them do their stuff more often.
And to let, as far as background stuff, famous Lord Soth was a Knight of the Rose.
Yeah, which we're coming up on right here. So let's see. And then they all have like tenets too that go along with it. So crown is virtues of cooperation, loyalty, and obedience. Rose is leadership, justice, and wisdom. And for that one, you can increase your constitution, wisdom, or charisma by 1. And then you get bolstering it, rally. As a bonus, you can encourage one creature you can see within 30 feet of yourself. As long as they see or hear you, again, the target gains temporary hit points equal to 1d8 plus your proficiency bonus plus the ability score modifier, of the ability score increased by this feat. So d8 plus your proficiency plus whichever, constitution, wisdom, or charisma modifier you have. That's pretty cool. A little bonus temporary hit points to a creature, a target you can see or hear you. I'm assuming, you can choose yourself, as said right there. So you can even give yourself bonus temporary hit points if you need it. And again, proficiency times per day. Knights of the Sword are about heroism and courage. You could do intelligence, wisdom, or charisma here. So some of these really aren't designed necessarily straight for fighters. Some probably a little bit more on the paladin side.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that was the classic case in point of a lot of... It was their version of a paladin back then. It was... But they wanted to break it down even further than what you got as a paladin back then. So, which was really cool, because knights and armor and all that other fun stuff, you had your paladins, which was basically your holy warriors and stuff like that. But that's pretty much all you got in second edition. So they pretty much took it a step further and went with the old medieval style thing. So one of the other main characters, I can't remember right offhand because it's been forever, but he was either the Knight of the Sword or the Knight of the Crown, which was Sturm, right? Blade, I think. I'm so rusty on the names and characters, but I have them visualized. So,
So this one allows you to attempt to frighten a target. They have to make a wisdom saving throw against your save DC, which is again given based on whichever ability score you use plus proficiency, and they are frightened until the end of your next turn. So you get 1 round of having a character frightened of you, and then again proficiency bonus per day. The initiative high sorcery ones, because I skipped ahead to do the knights because I want to do the first level ones first. You get a few different adepts. So the black robes, as we talked about, the kind of evil, dark ones, you're using your magic, your ambition, and loyalty to the Lord of the Black Roads. So you're getting some benefits. Ambitious magic, you learn a 2nd level spell of your choice. It has to be enchantment or necromancy. And you cast a feat 2nd level spell without a spell slot once per day, essentially, once per long rest. You can also cast the spell using other slots that you have in your class, assuming you get that or not. You get life channel. You can channel your life force into the power of your magic. When a creature you can see within 60 feet of you fails a saving throw against a spell that deals damage, you can expend a number of hit dice equal to the spell of the level of the spell. So a 3rd level fireball, say, you could expend 3 hit dice and you roll them and add them together. The damage that the creature takes increases by an amount equal to that total. Let's see. And this is only to 1 creature. So the fireball thing, you could choose 1 to take extra damage. It doesn't give everybody extra damage because it does say a creature you can see, which is good. Otherwise, it'd be way too powerful. But it's still really good. One guy, like, okay, I'm going to do extra 3d8 on top of the other damage I did on this spell. And I'm sure there's ways that, like, if you've done things that, like, maximize the amount of damage you deal, like the cleric has, like, with the lightning, the storm cleric ones, you can, like, maximize the amount of lightning damage. So you hit with like a lightning bolt, it's going to do a bunch of D6s, and then you're going to deal the D8s, but then you just maximize it all so that you're just doing one huge round of damage. All right, red robes, maintaining balance between all things. So again, 2nd level spell choice It has to be illusion or transmutation. Again, once free, then using your normal slots. Magical balance. When you make an attack roll or ability check and roll a 9 or lower on the d20, you can balance fate and treat the roll as a 10. So cool. So cool, for sure. And this is, again, proficiency bonus times per day. Sometimes all you have to do is be able to roll a 10. And when you're dropping that big spell, if I miss this shot, I'm wasting a huge spell slot. If you can hit that 10 and that causes you to succeed, because it's still 10 plus your attack modifiers or whatever, you can burn this. And I kind of see myself, I'd save this until I get a better idea. Like, okay, is there AC in a range that 10 plus all my modifiers is going to make this hit land? If so, then I'm going to burn this, because you still get proficiency bonus times. So you still could do this 2+ times a day. So I would save it for the good times. Once you kind of get it dialed in on your target's armor class range, then be like, okay, I'm going to roll. And if I roll like crap, I then can decide I'm going to make this a 10. Adept with the white robes. So you're using your magic to make the world a better place. Well, at least as your order sees that. So this one's going to give you 2nd level abjuration or divination schools. And you can cast this feat, again, for free, plus using your other things. When you are a creature you can see within 30 feet, this is the extra part on there, protective ward, takes damage, you can use your reaction to expend a spell slot and weave protective magic around the target. You roll a number of d6s equal to the spell slot and reduce the damage the target takes by the total rolled on those dice. Very cool. Someone's going to get hit. All right. That's going to drop you, or maybe that's going to make me nearly fail my concentration check, or your cleric who's concentrating on an important spell. You don't want him to drop that spell. Now you can reduce the amount of damage they take by a number of d6s. So say, I'm going to burn a 4th level spell slot, roll 4d6 and reduce the damage, and maybe then make it easier for the cleric to hold on to their concentration. I love it. I love it. One other feat they brought in is the Divinely Favored. It's a 4th level prerequisite. So you're chosen by a god, Spark of Power. You learn a cantrip of your choice from the cleric spell list, and one level spell based on the alignment of your character, as specified in the alignment spell table below. Yeah, you also learn Augury.
Yeah, and once again, focusing on that whole alignment thing that Dragonlance is famous for.
Yeah. If you're evil, you choose one 1st level warlock spell. If you're good, you choose one 1st level cleric spell. Neutral, 1st level druid spell. Like, just other ways to get these spells. And it's the cool thing too here is it's just one 1st level spell. But I've done character builds where I'm like, man, I just really want Armor of Agathis, maybe. From the warlock spell list, but I don't want to do a 1 level warlock dip for my cleric or something. So maybe then I can build an evil cleric that uses the Armor of Agathis spell to good effect, or whatever it is. Maybe I'm a wizard and I want some 1st level cleric spell. Yeah. And that could be simple. I mean, it could be Bless, which is one of the best things in the game. It could be Healing Word, even if you just want to have that ability to kind of drop in like heals here and there. Definitely a nice little option. It is a feat, so take that into consideration. They're putting it here because this is one of the free feats that they give you in Dragonlance, because you could take a series of free feats at 4th level as well. But this could find its way into other campaigns, whether they're giving you free feats or not, and add special, utility to a class that doesn't otherwise get some of these spells.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, if you are going to do that direction, then either figure out a way to make it where it makes sense, or even go to that the direction I would go is figure out which books you want to build your world in, or not world in, but how you want to build your world. Select what books you want to get, like say you want knightly orders and weird magic, that's based off the moons, or things of that nature, and pick up Dragonlance, and then pick up the few other books and just take the pieces out of there and build your world from it, which would be really cool to do. So,
and another character creation option that you can get here from Dragonlance is the new sorcerer subclass. So this is the lunar sorcery. It's tied to the moons. So first level feature, you learn additional spells when you reach certain levels on the chart, and you choose a moon. But basically you can choose a new moon after a long rest, and it switches the number of the spells that you have access to. So again, as a sorcerer, you could pick up, here you can get Shield, Lesser Restoration, Dispel, Death Ward, Telepathic Bond, finally at 9th level. And that's in a full moon. And then you can do a new moon, Ray of Sickness, Blindness, Vampiric Touch, Confusion, Hold Monster, Crescent Moon, Color Spray, Alter Self, Phantom Steed, Hallucinatory Train, and Mislead. And the cool thing is that you can change it every day. After a long rest, change it. Oh, I'm going to go, we have a big fight. I really want to make sure I have Shield, and I want to make sure I have Death Ward. So I'm going to take Full Moon. Or, I want to be more support based. I'm going to do New Moon and use Blindness on their biggest target, and I'll have that option. Whichever one, there's some good options here, and it's just extra spell options for a sorcerer who, again, as I said earlier, has the least selection of spells and the least versatility. So it does up an already decent spellcasting class with more spell options. In addition, first level, they learn Sacred Flame as one of the cantrips. It does not count against your other ones. However, if you have two targets within 5 feet of each other, you can Sacred Flame them both with one casting, which is cool. 6th level, you're going to get further use of your moons. So in full moon, abjuration, divination; new moon, enchantment and necromancy; crescent moon, illusion and transmutation. Note there's not an evocation section in here, so just remember that when you're planning around it. But what that does is whenever you use meta magic on one of the schools that's in the moon cycle that you're in, you reduce the meta magic cost by 1, which could go down to 0. So depending on your meta magic use and how much, that's a pretty awesome feature. You also get 6th level greater control over your lunar stage, so you can spend a sorcery point to change your lunar embodiment phase to a different one. You could be mid-fight and be like, oh, I really need that. Let's look up here. Hold monster spell. Well, you could spend your single skill point or sorcery point to shift yourself over to that moon. So now you have access to that spell. You can also cast one first level spell from each lunar phase of the table without expending a spell slot, as long as you're in the right phase of the moon, which is pretty cool. And it's seemingly there too. Doesn't say only once ever. It's just you can only cast that spell once. So you could be in full moon, have casted Shield for free. Then you're like, oh, I really need Hold Monster. Shift to New Moon, cast Ray of Sickness for free. You could shift to Crescent Moon. So one spell slot to shift, and then you get a few free first levels. I don't see you doing that too often. I see it more like a situationally. You realize that, oh man, I really wanted Dispel Magic, but I set up a New Moon. So then you could shift yourself to Full Moon. That was 6th level. So the next feature you're going to get as a sorcerer comes 14th level. as always. And you can use a bonus action to shed bright light in a 10-foot radius, dim light for an additional 10 feet, or to douse the light that you had there. You and creatures of your choice have advantage on intelligence investigation and wisdom perception checks while within the bright light you shed. So the light itself is whatever. By 14th level, if you don't have a way to easily get light or easily see in the dark, you're probably doing something wrong. But the bonus is you're giving advantage to intelligence and perception. So investigation and perception checks while they're in that light. So you really have to find that secret door, or you really want to make sure no traps are in front of you. Do that. Your rogue now has easy access to probably never failing any of those checks. In addition, let's see, that's if you're in the full moon set phase. So again, this is another reason why you might want to be shifting your phases using that one sorcery point. New moon, you have advantage on dexterity stealth checks. And while you are entirely in darkness, attack rolls have disadvantage against you. Crescent moon, you have resistance to necrotic and radiant damage. This is one thing I think I could really see me saying, I'm going to use that one sorcery point as a bonus action to shift when I realize that my enemy does necrotic damage and hits like a truck. Like, no, I'm going to get resistance. That's pretty cool. Their kind of capstone feature at 18 allows as a bonus action, you can utilize one of these abilities. Alternatively, as part of the bonus action, you take to change your lunar phase using the waxing and waning feature. You can immediately use the power given by that phase. So full moon, you radiate moonlight. Each creature your choice within 30 feet of you succeeds on a Constitution saving throw or be blinded. Not bad. In addition, one creature of your choice in the area regains 3d8 hit points by situational heal plus blind. 3d8 is not a lot at 18th level, but 3d8 if your ally is on the ground and bleeding out, that's pretty decent.
That gives you an extra like buffer zone instead of like going, oh look here, I gave you 1d4 hit points back. So yeah. The bad guys were nearby looming with his,
right, like that opportunity attack even from the wizard, that's standing next to him may not knock him down. New moon, you emanate gloom. Each creature your choice within 30 feet must succeed on dexterity saving throw or take 3d10 necrotic damage, which is okay, but at 18th level, that's nothing to be amazed at. But its speed is reduced to 0 until the end of its next turn. That's cool. And you become invisible until the end of your turn, or until immediately after you make an attack or cast a spell. So that's got a lot in that one, which is pretty cool. You deal damage, you reduce the speed of a creature to 0, and you blink out of existence, go invisible for a turn. Now, if you're invisible, they can't see you. If they can't see you, they can't make opportunity attacks on you, unless they have blind sight or something like that.
Tremor sense or some weird thing of that nature, yeah.
Which I think you would know your enemies. So if and this is within 30 feet, so if some reason you're now surrounded by bad guys and you're got impending death coming up, or maybe you got knocked down and your cleric just cast that heal on you to bring you up for 6 hit points, and you're like, oh, I am screwed here unless I get away. Okay, burst damage, you guys can't run after me, I can run away and you can't attack me, and that goes until the end of my next turn. So when I make an attack as invisible, you'd have advantage, so you could set yourself up for a big spell either at the end of that turn, or I'd probably cast a spell first, do this, run away, and then be ready for next turn, because you get a whole turn of being invisible. Crescent moon, magically teleport to an unoccupied space within 60 feet of you. Bring along one willing creature you can see within 5 feet of yourself. It also doesn't say they have to be your size. So you could have, by some reason, maybe a large willing creature, a mount or something, perhaps even, or something like that, and teleport them with you. Yeah.
Which would be huge, especially if you were chasing after an enemy. And whatever happened, they got ahead of you and you needed that quick jump, whether it be across a chasm or over a creek bed or something, and bam, there you are, 60 feet ahead. So
yep, you're also going to gain resistance to all damage until the start of your next turn, so you get one full round essentially of much harder to kill. So this could be used in the pursuit. Now you're ahead of them. Oh, they're going to probably attack you because you're standing between them and escape, but you get resistance. Or maybe again, you were surrounded, you got yourself out, and now you have resistance. Or your ally was about to die, so you grab them and bamf them out, and now you guys both have resistance with that. I love that, like, imagery, since this is Dragonlance, like you're on a dragon mounted, and then you teleport somewhere with the dragon 60 feet, and you're all of a sudden appearing, and now you both have resistance to all damage. A crazy, scary feature.
Definitely a shock and awe maneuver for sure.
Oh yeah, and if it's like, I don't know, a cave structure where the cave opening's too small for a dragon, but like 50 feet in, it opens into a big thing, you teleport the dragon inside there where they're like, oh, you can't get me. And then all of a sudden you're in this thing with the dragon. I mean, this is huge, crazy case scenarios, magical Christmas land, but fun little uses.
It goes on the idea of, they would have had this in Lord of the Rings, where that one moment with the white steeds going across the river for them to get away, and they had this, we wouldn't have much of a story after that. So,
right,
or it'd be vastly different if the bad guys had that power. So
that's kind of, those are all the character creation options, and I think that's really what we wanted to focus on.
Yeah, today.
There are a few items that you can get, magical and otherwise. However, they're kind of very specific to the setting and very specific to the utility.
But however,
had some cool things.
Yeah, and it really depends on your world setting if you want to actually bring them over. If like our world setting is based around the 1890s to 1919. And these are very, very much similar to that. Or if your world is steampunk or even Eberron, they could easily be dropped into those world settings. Or Ravnica, or I'm saying that wrong, I know. But the City of the World supplement that came out. But yeah, all these could easily just be plopped into them. And like this thing right here, if you're running the which one is it? The Abyss one, where everyone goes to hell?
Into Avernus.
Yeah. This could easily be fit into that setting. So.
Yeah. So just some cool things. Not a lot that's like, oh my gosh, that's totally game changing in my opinion. Anyways, but some fun stuff. That was Dragonlance. The new options provided for characters mainly is what we wanted to go over today. What are cool builds that you guys can think of, or cool things that this book now offers that either spoke to you, or maybe there was a character concept you already had that something here fits that even better? Like, I know I made Baron Mount for the Vobian Knights game. I would have loved to have the Kender option to be able to like have that extra taunt on him, because he's the Artificer designed to like hit things and make them fight him. This would be cool to have that extra ability. Is there something out there? Let us know. If you're here on Twitch, then drop it in chat at some point, or if you see this on YouTube in the future, put it in the comments descriptions. The comment section.
As well as if you were actually running Dragonlance in the actual Dragonlance setting and stuff like that. Tell us about what you're going through, what you're doing. Curiosity is always a wonderful thing, as people add to that. And maybe you were running it during the War of the Lance or beyond that. So that would be an interesting read to see what going on in your world. So
discussions like this can all be taken over to our Discord if you're interested. Hit us up on Facebook or one of our other socials. We will get you the link to the Discord. There's not like, we don't do a subscription fee or anything like that to be part of the Discord. We do have Patreon. It's mainly just like, if you feel like tipping us, we would appreciate it. It does help towards paying for all the books, paying for the programs we use to be able to provide the content that we do. And in exchange, we drop some maps here and there. We do release all the YouTube content early to anyone who is a Patreon member. So consider joining, just mainly as a way of saying thank you, giving us a small tip that we can use towards the expenses of the channel itself.
And we also have products of our own as well. We have several modules that we've come out with. So go check us out on DriveThruRPG, which is under the same name, the XP Guild. We also, below, have a neat little button that you can push, and it will just take you right there. So, if you're on Twitch. If you're on YouTube, I don't think we have that set up over there. So, but
it would be in the description. There's
okay,
a link in the description for that.
So
I think with that, I think we're good for today. Thank you for joining us for Tuesday Talks. And
before we go, if you have an idea of what you may want to hear next Tuesday, not this coming next Tuesday, but in 2 Tuesdays, every other Tuesday, remember. If you have an idea or whatnot that you want us to talk about, please let us know. We are free and open for those lovely, lovely ideas.
Yeah, so again, that's also our Discord section has an area you can participate in that talk. You can ask lore questions or character questions to various people in the various games. There's things set up for all that. There's places to find players, or if we're going to do a new game, we put that stuff up there. Usually first and foremost before we go searching around the rest of the internets for more players elsewhere. So if you're interested in any of that, join us. All the links and everything are somewhere on these pages that you're watching us on. And we appreciate you guys being here for part of this fun and amazing discussion times that we get. And if there's a show or something you want us to talk about, whether Tuesday Talks or something outside of it, please let us know. We're always looking for people's thoughts, people's preferences, desires, whatever. And we'll take that into consideration. Yeah. With that, watchers, thank you for joining us for Tuesday Talks.
Thank you. Bye.